We got some breaking news. The Washington Commanders are hiring Kliff Kingsbury as their new offensive coordinator, Dan Quinn's first official hire here in DC. I'm going to be talking about that and the possibility of Caleb Williams coming to DC now that we have Kliff Kingsbury. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, that notification bell as well so you never miss a video. Comment down below what you think about this news. It helps the algorithm a ton. Alrighty, so Adam Schefter broke the news, or maybe someone else did, but a little bit of a late night news break here, news dump for the Washington Commanders. They are hiring Kliff Kingsbury as their new offensive coordinator. So happened pretty quick. Apparently, I made a video yesterday talking about it, and I go into depth about Kliff Kingsbury there, or at least my thoughts on the situation. And at that time, I didn't even know they interviewed him, but after, right when I posted the video, it said, they reported that he was interviewed and it could take some time. Well, it took no time at all, 24 hours, and the Washington Commanders have hired Kliff Kingsbury. I don't know if it's official, probably not official yet, but it'll happen relatively soon. You got the press conference with Dan Quinn tomorrow, sorry about that stutter, at 2:30 p.m. Monday Eastern time. So that'll be interesting. I'm sure he'll be asked about Kliff Kingsbury, unless it's not official, and in that case, maybe he can't be asked about it. But I personally do like this move. There is some risk involved. Kliff Kingsbury hasn't been amazing everywhere he's gone, but he is a good offensive mind, and I do believe as a coordinator, he can be good. As a head coach, it's a little bit different. But as an offensive coordinator, I really do believe he can be good. He had some really good stats with the Cardinals when he was there. And, they were top 10 in rushing a lot. So he can coach offense, and that's what he's done. And head coach is a little bit different, and he's not going to be here to be our head coach. With the Cardinals, there were some, leadership questions with him and stuff like that. But in terms of an offensive coordinator, you have way fewer leadership responsibilities than a head coach does. So that'll help him out a ton. Just if you want to know a little bit of a background on Kliff Kingsbury, was the Cardinals head coach for 4 years, was the Texas Tech Red Raiders head coach for a while. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. He did coach Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people talk about that. When they're talking about him, it is something to consider, but also, Patrick Mahomes is that guy too. So, it's probably a little bit of both. And then worked with the Houston Cougars and, Texas A&M. He worked there as well. And then this past season, one big thing is he was working with USC, I believe, as their quarterbacks coach and senior offensive assistant. So guess who played quarterback there? Caleb Williams. And am I saying that we're going to draft him at 2? No. This definitely increases the likelihood of that happening and increases the likelihood of maybe Caleb Williams pushing back on going to the Bears. Maybe he pulls an Eli Manning and says, I don't want to go to the Chicago Bears. Sorry about that. There has been some rumors about that. He's never directly said that. It might be coming from, it could be BS, or it could be coming from his camp or his dad, which, he's a little bit vocal. And that's another thing. But I personally would like Caleb Williams. And if we can trade up to get him at 1, I would do it. I know a lot of people are against it, but I would like him at 1 if we don't have to give up a ton. Because, again, it is going from 1 to 2. And if you're the Bears, you trade up 1, or you trade down 1 spot, get your quarterback, or you can trade down again and get some more picks and get whoever you want at receiver or tackle as well. But Adam Schefter said, let the speculation begin. Kliff Kingsbury coached Caleb Williams last season. Williams was a standout quarterback at Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C. The Commanders currently hold the number 2 overall pick and are in striking distance of the number 1 pick that belongs to Chicago. So shout out to my friends PG and Kev who went to Gonzaga. I really hope, again, we get Caleb Williams, but we'll see what happens. It's still so much time before we get there, but regardless, I think this is a good hire to develop a young quarterback. He helped develop Kyler a little bit, and there were some definitely bumps there, but Kyler is a good quarterback in this league, and let's hope Kliff Kingsbury can even do a better job than he did with Kyler, with whoever the quarterback is in Washington. Is it going to be Caleb Williams? Is it going to be Drake May? Or is it going to be Jaden Daniels? It could be any 3 of them. I think Jaden Daniels' stock is going up a little bit. Maybe Drake May's stock's going down. I wouldn't be surprised if Jaden Daniels is the number 2 overall quarterback in this draft class. Dan Quinn's first offensive coordinator hire in Atlanta was Kyle Shanahan. And his first offensive coordinator hire now is Kliff Kingsbury. So let's hope it works out as well as it did with Atlanta here with Kliff Kingsbury, where Dan Quinn made a great hire in Kyle Shanahan, and he struggled a little bit without Kyle Shanahan. Oh, I don't know what that was, but you know, if you're going to have a defensive-minded head coach, you have to make sure that guy picks some good coordinators. He did that with Kyle Shanahan. Now we're going to see if Kliff Kingsbury is that guy, and it's especially important when you're drafting, at least likely drafting a quarterback in the top 2 of this year's draft, whether at 1 if we trade up or sticking at 2 or maybe even 3, but I don't think we're trading out of that spot, trading down. So it's very important to have a guy. So Kliff Kingsbury, I like this because he has experience working, like he just worked with, you know, college quarterback and Caleb Williams. If it's not Caleb Williams, that's still valuable experience because he knows how these quarterbacks are thinking, working with them. He worked with Kyler Murray in the past, so I think he knows what to do and what not to do because there were some hiccups with Kyler Murray there in Arizona with some maturity issues. And, you know, there's some people that think the same thing about some people think the same thing about Caleb Williams, so that's just something to consider. You also think about it, Kyler Murray played under Lincoln Riley, and then of course Caleb Williams also played under Lincoln Riley. So Kliff Kingsbury knows that offense, and if Caleb Williams comes down to DC, if we draft him, then that could be something to watch out for if Kliff Kingsbury tries to take some stuff from that Lincoln Riley type offense. I don't know who was calling the plays officially. I'm guessing it was Lincoln Riley. I mean, he was the head coach and he's an offensive guy, so I doubt Kliff was calling the plays. He might have helped a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, Lincoln Riley was calling the plays at USC, and they were struggling a little bit, but again, Kliff probably wasn't calling the plays. If anyone knows for sure, let me know down below in the comments section, but I think Kliff was the guy just kind of helping scheme things up maybe in meetings, but at the end of the day, he wasn't calling the plays. So after this, we're going to see who's going to be the quarterback's coach, who's going to be offensive. Like that stuff is important. I talked about it yesterday or maybe the day before in the Dan Quinn, or 2 days before in the Dan Quinn video. These position coaches are important. We didn't have very good position coaches here in Washington under Rivera. And those guys that were good, Pete Haener, John Matsko, Chris Harris, those position groups were good when they were here. When John Matsko left, the offensive line group struggled a little bit more. Same thing with the DB room. It went down a cliff right after he left. And then Pete Haener, the development there was good with Logan Thomas, with John Bates. And then after that, the tight end room hasn't been that good. So part of that's injuries, but I think a lot of it's coaching. So getting these good position coaches is very important. They haven't announced who's going to be the defensive coordinator, but obviously that defensive coordinator with Dan Quinn is probably going to fill out the staff. With the offensive staff, it's going to probably be more Kliff Kingsbury that decides it, but with the defensive staff, I think the defensive coordinator and Dan Quinn will be working together to find those guys that can work together, because Dan Quinn's probably going to be calling the plays. But that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoy it. I do like this hire. There is some risk involved. He hasn't been amazing everywhere he's gone, but I think he's a perfect example of a guy that's better as a coordinator than he is as a head coach. Peace, guys.